like to call the regular meeting of the Old Saybrook Zoning Commission for Monday, April 20th, 2026, 6 p.m. Town Hall, first floor conference room. Can we all stand for pledge of allegiance? What? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You'll do the roll call. And everyone's here except for Mark. Okay. And then regular business, we have our minutes from our last meeting.
We have two,
2 minutes.
April 6th and April 13th.
Okay, so we'll do April 6th first. Does anybody have any questions, concerns, or comments regarding those minutes? Anybody like to make a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thanks, second. Okay, all in favor? Everybody say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same, okay, motion passed. All right, April 13th, sorry. Yep, April 13th minutes for the special meeting. Anybody have any questions, concerns, comments? Okay.
Motion to approve.
So moved. Any
Second.
seconds? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the thing passes. Okay. Any correspondence?
Yeah.
None? Great. All right, moving on. We have item 5. Ferry Landing Marina redevelopment project overview and preliminary discussion. This is for 140, 142, 163 Ferry Road, Assessors Map 45, lots 14, 29, 33. Marine Industrial and Residence A Districts, Connecticut River Gateway Conservation Zone, Coastal Area Management Zone. Applicant is Ferry Landing LLC. I'd like to modify the agenda item to clarify that the agenda item is a pre-application review under Connecticut General Statute, section 7-159B. Can I get a second to that motion? Second. Any?
Ron. Who seconded? Ryan.
Yep. Any discussion on that? Okay, all in favor of the modification to the agenda? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same, any passes? Okay, Attorney Capella,
Yes.
floor is yours.
Great. Good evening, Ed Casella, representing Ferry Landing LLC. We're here for this, as stated, pre-application preliminary discussion with the zoning commission regarding the hopeful redevelopment of Ferry Landing, which is 142, 163 Ferry Road. It used to be between the bridges, the North Yard, if you're familiar with it. I'm going to introduce who we have here from the team, and we'll kind of give you a big picture overview, and then can dive into some specifics. So Walker Potts is a member of Ferry Landing LLC and the owner. Craig Nucci and Kelsey are from Point One Architects. Mike Ott is a civil engineer, and Devin Santa is the coastal engineer who's working with the marina side of things. So we've put together a presentation for you, which is still fairly high level concept plans for discussion. Again, this is preliminary. There's a number of items still that need to be finalized, including most of the engineering, final building structure plans, but wanted to take this opportunity to give you a little bit of the history and what's been done on the property so far by the current ownership group, explain kind of the goals and the visions moving forward. Greg and Kelsey are going to walk you through the actual what's being proposed from a development perspective. And then there are a few specific topics we want to highlight that Mike Ott will talk about some improvements within the right of way, complexities on the site for things like stormwater and septic. Devin will talk more specifically about marina improvements, opportunities for FEMA compliance, improved FEMA compliance, coastal resilience. And then you'll hear a little bit more from me tonight about some zoning strategies. And our hope is to be back in a couple of weeks to talk just about the zoning piece of it. So this tonight is really meant to be high level, kind of a presentation on what's being proposed before we dive into too many details. So with that, I'll turn it over to Walker Potts to give you that overview.
Thanks very much, I appreciate it. Hi, everyone, my name is Walker Potts, principal at Ferry Landing Marina. Just a quick bit about myself, grew up locally, went to Valley Regional, grew up working at Pilots Point Marina and Dauntless in Essex, under Jack Brewer and eventually my dad, who's been in the marine industry as long as I can remember. Grew up going to school, working at the marina before school, coming back and worked at the marina after school, and worked on boats, and then after high school, joined the Marine Corps, spent just shy of 8 years in the Marine Corps, deployed overseas, all that fun stuff. Got back out and got back into boats, chased boats for the next 15 or 18 years, and was in Australia, New Zealand, Bermuda, mostly with racing boats and America's Cup type stuff, but lots of service, boat building, engineering, kind of everything with boats. And now I'm also involved in the naval nuclear programs for submarines. So boats have kind of been my life through and through, and as well as my family's life. Moving back to the area, I've been doing a bunch of stuff, working with electric boat and other stuff in the Navy, defense, boat building space, shipbuilding space. And then our group in 2022 became aware of an opportunity with, I'm sure as a lot of you guys have been around, you've seen the sort of long, slow decline of the site that's at issue here. And, it's been, mismanaged and fallen into disrepair over the years, which I think us being old, wooden boat people at heart, we see something like this, we want to bring it back to life. So we saw an opportunity in kind of the rubble, so to speak, and acquired the marina through foreclosure at the end of 2022, and have been working hard to sort of strategize on what the redevelopment plan might look like. By and large, we're marina people. We want to keep it a marina. We want to focus on bringing it back to its former glory. So that, from an infrastructure standpoint, has been a lot so far, both in terms of bringing back the employees, at the same time engaging in a number of kind of critical infrastructure upgrades. So recently, as of about 3 weeks ago, we finished a major dredging project. It's been a long time since the marina had been dredged. So we've got, deep water now that got us about 16 to 18% more slips available because they were all sitting in the mud. And for those of you who don't know, dredging, it can be a real bear of a project. So it's been about 2 years of permitting and then 5 months of actually dredging. And as many of you guys know, the winter was not the easiest winter, so it was a bear of a project. But now we've got deep water, which makes it safe and more accessible to everyone there. We're in the process of a bulkhead project. We got a permit for a bulkhead, and once we reach final design and sort of the sequence and phasing of how that's going to work in with hopefully the demolition of the old building. So there's a number of big things going on. And as you can see from the photos up here, that and I'll just quickly orient you up on your screen there. You're looking at the marina on the east side of the road. So in that top left photo, north is actually left and east is up. So you can see there's the main bit of what we're focusing on here is to the left of that driveway where those yellow dots sort of punctuate down the driveway. And that will all be hopefully coming down in its place. We'll be going a newer footprint, mixed use between no residential on that side of the road. That will be in the same vein as its former purpose and use. It'll be a restaurant, retail and commercial space, as well as a clubhouse, a pool, and bathrooms and sort of health center. On the right side of the road, which will be south of the driveway, where those 3 larger sheds are, we'll be looking to consolidate those into one single, more functional design for boat storage and what we refer to as our rack storage business, which is sort of like valet parking for boats. People can come in and say, hey, I'm gonna be there at 10 in the morning. We plop the boat in the water and off they go to Claudio's. Hopefully some will stay on this side of the sound, but thus far that doesn't happen. So we're hoping to be one of those draws that can pull people from the other side of the Long Island Sound back this way. And basically what you're looking at is a marina that's been through various iterations of ownership. Over the last 30 years, it seems like there's been as many owners. And in recent years, there's been quite a bit of mismanagement that really led to what to me looks like a blank slate. So the goal will be to knock down the existing infrastructure that's not only a operational impediment, but also a real safety hazard. The buildings to the north of the driveway there, what makes up what we call the restaurant and office complex, it was deemed unsafe, and there's a demolition order that we're gonna be working with you all in the town, and as we get through these approvals, be hopefully working expediently to get that demolished. And in its place, we're hoping to basically make a new marina destination that'll pull people from, I mean, I spend my life on the water and everyone makes the same comment. Connecticut River's one of those beautiful bodies of water, but there's nothing to do on it. And I think we can be a part of that solution. So the goal will be to kind of restore it to its former glory, bring back some of the tourist appeal and the attraction, and for mariners that are kind of between Mystic, Newport, Block Island, Greenport, Branford. This is a really, a wonderful site that has huge opportunity, but it's been not capitalized and not well executed, at least in the last 15 years. For those of you guys that remember, it was a pretty hopping place back in the day. And, every day I hear people say, oh man, it was so great. We hope that something as good comes back in its place, and that's what we want to do. So our goal is to make it again, a functioning marina, give the Connecticut River and the town of Old Saybrook the kind of curb appeal that it deserves. I think this little section of town between Ferry Point Marina, Oakleaf, S&S, the South Yard, and Ragged Rock is just begging for revitalization, and I think a lot of the neighbors feel the same way. So we've had nothing but good feedback so far talking to the neighbors, and I think basically once we get through the major infrastructure and site developments, it's a matter of just doing the fundamentals well. Providing great customer service, safe space for boats and handling their boats, bringing customers back, having a great restaurant, and then the shopping and retail commercial area. The goal is to kind of hit that overlap between what's nice amenities for marina customers as well as people from the town. So we're looking at a great restaurant that's not too high end, not too low end. You can roll off the water and flip flops and grab a burger on a Saturday afternoon, or take your husband or wife to a nice anniversary dinner and try to strike that sweet spot. I think we all know it's kind of tough to balance in this part of town, trying to make it through the winter. And then the shops, we're looking for things that are both, again, dual use for marina customers in town. So that would be, a ship store, a chandlery, bait and tackle shop, restaurant, sandwich shop, beer and wine type of store. And then upstairs, we're probably looking at boat brokerages, real estate offices, things like that. So obviously it depends on who wants to come, but we really look forward to hearing your guys' input. And I think between our team, we've got a pretty good set of bases covered in terms of what we're planning on doing in terms of parking, wastewater management, stormwater management, and all the rest. So very much appreciate the opportunity, guys. And Kelsey, if we want to click through a couple extra photos here. So again, I think you can just generally say the site's been pretty well neglected. You can see some of the existing conditions on the right. Some of those, the lower right, the top right, those are much older photos that don't show the current state. You can see that middle one on the right where all the paint on the concrete and broken windows and stain and paint peeling off the structures. So it's difficult now, to have customers coming in with, $2 million boats, and they've still got to look up at the relic that has not been maintained, and it certainly has room for improvement. So we're looking forward to making some improvements here. And I don't know, Kelsey, if you want to keep clicking through, I can show some of the, or do you want me to get straight into?
We can have Greg. Why don't we have Greg?
Yeah, you're doing a good job. Oh, yeah. Greg, thank you. And Greg Nucci, Point One Architects, I'll let him talk through the designs that you guys worked so hard on. Thank you guys very much.
Nice to see everyone. Thank you, Walker. So we've been working with Walker for a little while now, trying to kind of help him reorganize by design, reorganize his vision for the kind of redevelopment of the marina. So you can see these are existing aerials of what's currently there. The boat operations is really on the left side, and then the business and the restaurant and retail is on the right side in that upper photo. But we can keep going through. We are in a flood zone. We can talk about that afterwards. But anyway, this is a site plan that was developed to show the existing conditions as is. You can see on the upper left the buildings that are on, which is an elevated concrete plank platform. I don't know if you haven't been there. There's parking underneath this platform, and it's actually the concrete planks that are failing and part of the issue out there. So, but I wanted to show that because it kind of shows the existing development. It's currently, underutilized. It really needs a lot of help. So, hopefully what we're going to propose is to your liking. On the right side is kind of a slew of boat storage buildings and maintenance buildings that have kind of grown up over time. As Walker said, we're going to consolidate in our plans to kind of just do one building over there that is more boat storage, and gives them more adequate room in the yard to work around. So, across the street, there's a big parking lot that currently exists, and there's a current septic system that Mike can speak to, our civil engineer, and there's two other pieces of property, two residential. One's a house and one's rented as, I think, as a business. So you can go to the next slide. So this is the redevelopment plan that we've come up with. You can see on the left side, we're really trying to keep the development on the existing footprint of what is currently there. So we're actually reducing it in some regard by the pool area. The long bar building to the left is a retail building that we're proposing with offices on the upper floor. The building that's kind of kinked 45 degrees is the new proposed restaurant building. We've got a clubhouse on the left side, upper left. It's the little rectangles facing north-south. And there's an open pavilion piece that is kind of a seasonal structure that we're planning to do. This is a lot of seasonal traffic comes through here, so it'd be a nice place to be. And then there's an existing pool there now that we're planning on doing another new pool, with new bathrooms, locker room, showers, and things of that nature for the boat members there. And then on the right side, there's a little tiny building that exists now. Right now, it's the current marina office and operations building. That's where they kind of run their business side of things out of there. That's slated to stay, maybe some exterior improvements. And then the big boat storage building on the right. So we've taken all those 4 or 5 other buildings and just kind of created one building with the same amount of square footage. So, and then across the street, we've relaid out and reworked some of the parking areas along with a civil engineer to kind of organize that a little bit better. And one of the biggest, the biggest changes in this whole proposal is we're advocating for on-street parking. Currently, right now, there's like a big hole that goes down underneath the buildings that's kind of unsafe, but we think the on-street parking is a huge improvement. Success of this development, I think it brings people here. The retail component will actually work if that's allowed. Otherwise, this gets kind of hard for people to have to park far away and then go to the retail and walk back. So we think it's a very important part of this, and we're proposing that along both the north and the south side property. Street there. 2 acres there. Yeah. And some of the other site improvements, we are widening entrances and road to help with vehicular access and emergency vehicle access, and all of those things that I know is important to the town too. So there's on the right side, there's a new access we're proposing along the larger building to the right. And then the main access down the middle, we're widening it and making it just a little more manageable over there. I think over the next slide. It's not a parking. Basically, this is but it's kind of two drawings at once. It's kind of it's the parking plan, but it's showing both upper and lower level parking. You can see underneath the building where the red dashed lines are, there's parking underneath the building. It currently exists that way. We're planning on redoing that. And then there's the new pool and clubhouse, that's above base, 2 feet above base flood elevation. We can talk about flood zone at some point in the future, but we're designing it to be totally FEMA compliant. And then we've got a boat storage building with a variety of different size boats. And more parking on the other side, and then you can see the parking lot layout that we've developed across the street as well. That's part of their project. You can go again. Yeah, so these are a few renderings that we've created to kind of show the concept of the new restaurant building on the right-hand side, as well as kind of the public parking along the street, and then the building to the left that we're showing is the retail and business offices on the second floor. I think we have like three different elevators going in here to deal with ADA access as well. So each building gets an elevator from lower to upper level. Let's see. I guess we're really trying to create a streetscape here, like a pedestrian walkway with pedestrian lighting. And then in the next slide, you can see it's another rendering of the other side of things. This one is looking south of the retail shops below, with the business offices above. And that center section there, the white section there, that's an actual kind of portal through the back. And this is all public access. So we think it could be really nice to have the ability to walk around this building. So if you had an ice cream shop, you could sit on the backside on a bench and overlook the river, grab your coffee or whatever that, Walker fills his retail shops with for places, that support the marina. We think this is a nice concept to be able to walk in and out. And we're creating little public viewing kind of vistas along the way as part of the whole site concept here. So that is our preliminary concept of what we think should happen here. So.
Okay, thank you.
Your paper time.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. Kelsey, could you go back to the set plan that shows the 2 levels?
Yes.
That's good then. So Greg covered a lot of what I was gonna talk about, the layout of all the parking and the 3 drives, the one on the left, the one in the center, the one on the right. So I'll talk about the very exciting utilities and stormwater and septic topics, but I'll make it really brief. So we actually had a really good meeting today, this afternoon on the site with the State Health Department and with Greg Mattis from Pratt. And we went over our plans for wastewater. So today the site is permitted regarding wastewater under a Connecticut DEET permit. The wastewater system is actually on the bottom of the page on the landward parcel across the street, and the wastewater gets pumped from the lower level, the waterward side, up and under the street under Ferry Road to beneath the parking lot, basically. And we are proposing, this is why we met with the State Health Department today, we're proposing to change the regulatory jurisdiction along with some State Health Department regulations that are going to change in July, should allow us to change the regulatory jurisdiction and be under the Connecticut Department of Health's jurisdiction. So we're going to be redoing the whole wastewater system. It'll still pump over the road. There are, in addition to the force main that goes under the road today, there's some other utility crossings that we don't think were probably not formalized. We've already talked with the town about formalizing those crossings. We're going to be redoing or at least doing some work on all the other utilities, the electrical system, the public water system that's there within Ferry Road, and communications, telephone, cable TV, that kind of thing. With regard to stormwater, there is no stormwater treatment now on the site, on either the waterward site or the landward site. We're looking at that now in order to comply with Connecticut DEP's stormwater quality manual as well as the town's zoning regulations. It's possible that we may collect stormwater from the lower level and bring it back up to the other side of the street also, as we'll do with wastewater. I guess I'll reinforce what Greg said about the creation of the new streetscape. We really think is very important. All that angled parking along the whole frontage of the property, the new sidewalk that'll be along the complete frontage of the property, and the landscape and the landscaping and the lighting, it will make a huge difference, I think. We've looked at sight lines and traffic speeds, and we think it's an appropriate location, appropriate spot to make those streetscape changes along the frontage of the property. I think for me, that's it in a nutshell, very quickly. And I will, I think Devin will talk, are you gonna talk about?
Yeah, I was along, okay. Hi, good evening, Devin Santa, with Grace Coastal Engineering. We're involved in the team as well, looking at the water side of this whole project. For coastal resiliency, addressing sea level rise, addressing flood zone compliance. First and foremost, the bulkhead will be getting replaced as part of the maintenance that bird maintenance that Walker's discussed. So that's in the works, pending scheduling of other activities. Some site grading will be elevated to better account and address nuisance flooding. And the buildings would be compliant and conforming to the A zone, flood zone that they're in. So that's our piece of this puzzle, and that's happening as we speak.
Okay, just a couple of things to talk about before I dive too much into zoning. One of the features of this site that hasn't been stated is when it was developed, it was originally there's condominium documiniums, if you know about that. So 40 some odd % of the slips that are on this property are owned by individuals under a condominium structure. So none of that's going to change. So that's going to remain. So it's what we're dealing with, especially from a zoning perspective, is everything that's upland. Obviously, redoing the bulkhead and some things like that kind of go both ways, but the redevelopment that the zoning commission is going to be involved in is upland. Number two, it's just, if you haven't been out there, really paid attention out there, there's a 17-foot drop between the road and the marina area down below, right? So it's 22-foot elevation out of the flood zone up top, and then bang, 5 feet and lower as you get to the bulkhead. So when we're talking about different levels and things like that, it's important to keep that in mind. The goal for the sidewalk, the parking, the streetscape, the restaurant, the retail is all to be up at that 22-foot level with an additional story. So that presents some of the zoning complications that we're dealing with. And when we have looked at the site, started talking to Chris, I've met with Chris a few times, we really had to make a decision. In redeveloping the property, are we going to go for 15 variances, or are we going to try to come up with a zoning regulatory strategy? And the road that we've gone down is to come up with a new overlay zone called like Marine Redevelopment District, where you have marinas that have been developed that can apply, and it gives zoning a little bit of flexibility to understand there's a lot of nonconformities on this property. Some of the heights of buildings are in the 50s, 54, 56, things like that, which obviously well exceeds 35. But that's partially, like we said, due to that slope and the fact that the restaurant, the retail buildings start at elevation 22, so they already start 17 feet up in the air. So that plus things like landscaping within the marina portion. I know you guys have dealt with this on some recent applications where when you have marinas and you want boats being able to be kind of pulled around and fire access, it's hard to throw landscaping in those things. So part of what we've done is we're working on a new overlay zone to be overlaid onto these properties. And one of the interesting things, another zoning wrinkle that's occurred, is they're in two districts right now. So the east side, you know, the top of the screen, the marina side is in the marine industrial MI. And then the west side, on the other side of the street, 163 is actually in Residence A. So this marina's grown up with getting variances over the years to allow things like parking and boat storage, commercial use of the properties across the street. So having an overlay put over these two properties will be able to get rid of regulation by variance and have everything fall under the zoning commission. So that's again, we're not going to get too much into that tonight because we have another meeting in a couple of weeks where we're going to present kind of a draft of what that regulation looks like. But just wanted to give you the brief overview of how we are looking at handling this from a regulatory concept. So, thank you. Does anybody have any questions, feedback?
So there's no residential feature involved in this at all?
No, that's correct. There's residential across the street now.
Yep.
On the 163 side, but on the MI marine industrial, straight marina, commercial, all the uses that we're proposing are allowed in the MI zone. It's really about, the nuance is really about height, setbacks, things like that, because it's all non-conforming.
You couldn't lay claim to the existing non-conformities and existing variances to accomplish what you want to do?
Some of them we could,
There's file drawers full of them.
Yeah.
It's very complicated and it's on two properties, and as we started going through them, it was almost
Too much.
too much.
Yeah.
So maybe we just try to figure out a way to
Okay.
create a regulation that would address it all versus a very giant research project.
Okay.
yeah.
With the way you're gonna have the parking, you're widening the road at that point onto your land?
So I should have said this, sorry, so we're not narrowing the existing road. The existing road, the conditions are actually great to do this. The existing pavement to edge of pavement is 30 feet. There's two 11-foot lanes, so that's 22, and there's two 4-foot shoulders today. And we're leaving that, we're not touching it. So all of the parking will be a widening and extension of the pavement towards the east, towards the lane.
And
And I don't know if you've got a photo of it, Kelsey, in any of those existing conditions, but where we're getting that space, sir, it's basically where it drops off pretty significantly, and it's, for us, it's a landscaping maintenance nightmare because you end up getting sumacs growing up there and you can't put machines down there, but you know, even in the last couple of weeks, I think it was right before that big snowstorm. Right now there's a handful of big boulders up there to keep anyone from driving off the road, but we found one of our probably 1,500-pound flower pots that was meant to be a deterrent from anyone entering the site. Someone had crashed into that and found a bumper wrapped around it, and the flower pot was down 10 feet down, so looking forward to making improvements there and making better use of that space.
Thank you. I probably should have, somebody's mentioned it, but just really quickly, we are solving this, new streetscape will solve pretty significant roadside safety issues that if you drive by, slow down, and take a look, you'll see it right away. So that whole streetscape construction solves all that.
And
Yeah.
go ahead.
But just, you mentioned there was a hole, when you're talking about street parking. What's the significance of the hole? Is that getting filled in or?
Yeah, there's gonna be the new structure will have a big retaining wall so that we can fill against. It'll also be part of the supporting structure of the building.
Okay, and then you talk about redoing the parking under the building, does it add or take away with general, just briefly and generally, how are you redoing it?
We've relayed it out to make it, we think, a better traffic circulation pattern. We've done a few things. We've moved it away from the bulkhead wall. We've made sure that we have 24 feet of driving lanes everywhere on the lower side. And we think we've better organized it the best we can on the lower level. Similarly, on the upper level across the street, that will be completely reorganized. Today, it's an open lot and you can just park, it's not really controlled very well. Well, it'll be much better controlled, and it'll have landscaping, and it won't be a sea of, just cars.
Okay, thanks.
I have a question. Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead. What are the plans for the antique house that is currently on the west side of the road in the parking lot? It's like a 2.5-story gambrel.
The two houses in the parking lot, those right there.
I think it's the yellow one.
Yep,
Yeah.
you're right. Yeah, the gambrel on the north side of that parking lot.
Right.
Yes, that's gonna remain as is. So we've re-roofed it and prettied it up, so we've dealt with a lot of maintenance issues there. But we have a residential tenant upstairs, and right now we're rehabbing the downstairs, renovating it to kind of make it hopefully, I think a boat brokerage or something along those lines has historically been how that was used, and I think that's a good, nice synergistic fit. But if it ends up being employee housing for one of our folks, or something along those lines, we're happy with that too.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Couple parking questions. So the on-street parking, is that, it looks like it's partially on within the right of way and partially on private property. So how is that going to be handled? Is it, logistically, anybody who's parking there is probably going into those buildings anyhow.
Yeah.
But will they be public spaces or private spaces or?
Yeah, the way these type of things have been handled in the past, to partially answer your question, is we would give the town an easement over any portion that's on private property, and then in that easement, we would designate who's responsible for maintenance and snow clearing and things like that, which will be these guys. And I think the answer is yes, it's just going to be public park.
Okay. And it looks like especially with across the street, plenty of parking to meet the requirements and still have boat storage in the off season, is that?
Yeah, and the lot on across the street actually is much larger than that.
Yeah.
That's just the front piece. There's a whole back piece where there's an existing fence and there's boat storage on the other side of it.
Right, okay.
So yeah, the goal is to keep the parking up front, make it convenient for the marina folks, make it convenient for the restaurant folks, the retail folks, and then have boat storage be on the further west side.
Okay.
That's the plan.
Thank you.
Do you have, I know it's all conceptual at this point, but would the restaurant and retail be seasonal or would that be year round?
We'd hope to keep going year round, as best we can support it. I think that'd be more of a decision for we're not gonna operate, the restaurant will be an operating tenant. But I think from knowing the history of it in other places that have similar characteristics, I'd like to maybe be a little optimistic and think that we can keep it open over the winter.
Yeah, and I think with some of the improvements, like there's more parking up front, it'll be that much more viable to have it year round versus the old restaurant. You never kind of knew where to park. It was pretty confusing getting there. So I think that plus the updated streetscape, I think is going to make this a real destination.
Any other questions? Yeah.
I have a question. You showed a little plaza with the arch where you see the water. Is that the building by the pool?
That'd be so you can see on the left side there.
Okay.
That's the street level breezeway that gives access to the water. And then the whole rest of that platform, all of that grid is essentially public access circulation with, kind of view sheds, both kind of, I guess, north all the way through east down to the south past the railroad bridge.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about it, but you can see around the building, and then there's a few little pockets of green space. That's all at elevation 22. So it's going to be an area where you can walk into. There's going to be an open air or a pavilion there that we're still trying to finalize the details of. There's going to be some marina owner amenities, association amenities, changing rooms and things like that, but that whole plaza is going to be open to the public.
And we just, in that little area, you can see the commercial space, retail right there. Just to the north of that, between there and the clubhouse, we deliberately left some good open space that, we'd like to, make available for things like farmers markets or, kind of community events, live music on Sundays, sort of things. So, I think there's a lot of opportunities for community access, community space.
Good, yeah, please.
In the past, this location, there was a proposal for a boardwalk of some sort. Is that gonna figure in something?
So that was more when this property was, there was a possibility that we joined what's referred to as the South Yard, which is currently leased to ONG for the bridge laydown and reconstruction. So, if there's an opportunity in the future to do that, but south of the southernmost driveway there, anything beyond that is out of our purview.
Got it.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have a sidewalk. You can see the gray strip all the way from the right driveway to the left. That's a sidewalk, I think.
Yeah.
So any further sidewalk connection could continue to go to the south.
And we've been in discussions with Bruce Carlson and the Mariners Way Commission or Committee about how we could either expand that district to incorporate this, or how we could just strategically coordinate with them to make sure that there's sort of, synergy and flow between. I think they're going basically up to Glade View, and we'd like to, tie in with that however we possibly could. Because we've already discussed things like sidewalks and, how that can help increase pedestrian flow.
Is the area, the north side entrance to the left, is that a 22-foot level parking?
No, that goes down the hill.
No, so yeah, that goes downhill at a pretty drastic angle, and then all that white space you see over there is at elevation
Okay,
plus 5.5, yeah.
because there's a street level parking over there somewhere now, right?
Yes, sir. So that's that little cluster of 3 buildings in the yellow you see there. That's currently parking deck, which we would be using for commercial space.
Any other questions? Yeah, good.
I'm curious about the overlay district. Is there? And I think it all makes sense, like I understand. I think we all understand the intricacies of this site. Have we looked at, will there be other sites that this overlay district would or wouldn't likely apply to?
Yeah, I think.
I guess I'm curious about like the potential ramifications of an overlay zone.
Yeah, I mean, I think in part, the overlay can be applied over any marine industrial property.
Right.
It's gonna be kind of limited to marine industrial properties and properties that are currently used as marinas. So other properties might get the benefit of it, but in order to do that, you need to make the decision to overlay that zone onto those properties. So if another marina owner came to you and said, this is great, I wanna build a restaurant, I wanna do all these things, you'd have the first chance to say, no, we don't want that overlay onto that property. You need to stick with regular zoning.
Are there different uses being written into, or they're?
Not really. Kind of the one big thing is we added uses for the property across the street. Because that's a residence A district.
Okay.
And so, off-street parking, stormwater, septic, that is part of a commercial operation. Those are the type of uses that are being proposed. But I think most of the uses, again, we're gonna have a chance to review all this, but it's basically, you can do any use that's allowed in the MI. And then you can do a few more uses that are mostly related to what's going on across the street. Boat storage is another one.
Okay.
So yeah, that's kind of how we thought it through.
Okay.
So will the overlay then become MI?
The plan is to keep the properties as they're zoned currently. So MI on the north and residence A on the on the east and residence A on the west, but to have the overlay go over both.
And would the overlay be designed so that the height exception specifies something to do with the specific grade changes on this?
Yeah, good
Or
question.
something along those lines, so that we don't end up with this, we might wanna permit the overlay somewhere else, but maybe not with
Yeah.
like 60-foot tall buildings.
A lot of it is, you know, again, and we're gonna have to be looking at this, but is geared toward, all right, you can do things, but you gotta be making it better. You have to be reducing non-conformities.
Just remember too, it's in the Gateway Conservation Zone.
Yeah.
So Gateway is gonna be very tough
Okay,
looking at heights.
okay. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay.
That's our time.
Well, thank you guys so much then. Appreciate that presentation. Thank you guys.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
so I have a procedural question for you. At the beginning of the meeting, when you got to item 4, regular business, and it had meeting minutes and correspondence, the commission indicated that there was no correspondence, and I've been corresponding with your town planner, who confirmed for me that she sent to you my correspondence that was addressed to her and to the first selectman, and she confirmed that that was shared with the zoning commission, the members of the zoning commission. So I'm just procedurally, I'm questioning why that was not brought to light when you covered correspondence under 4B of your agenda.
Yeah. I
We
mean,
already sent out.
It was sent out, I think, on the 14th is what I sent him, so that was. Oh,
But
a
if
week
you,
ago.
if you
But
go
the
back and look at
Attorney
what was said, you said
It was
correspondence
actually
none.
Sorry,
that's
that
not
was
accurate.
an oversight.
Yeah, it wasn't, they have it, Attorney Herbst. They have it. Everybody has it. This is Matt Willis, by the way.
I see you,
They
Matt.
have-
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
And so everybody has it. We're all set for that aspect of it. There really wasn't any new correspondence since then, I guess.
Right.
So that's what that was about. But
Okay.
everybody has your package.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Thank you.
Yep, that's fair. Thank you.
thank you. Okay, moving on to item 6. Thank you guys. Continued public hearings. We'll continue 91 Sheffield, both the application for the PDD and the special exception permit. Miss, I'll give Miss Shannon a couple of minutes. Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, you know. We're just gonna wait 1 minute until we move on.
Yeah, well, that's what, I know it's worse. I know it was.
You know, it's from.
Trying to get it, trying to get it. Get it to the building. How are you?
Well, for the rest, how are you?
Tired. Tired. It's your chart.
This is my chart. Where's the and get a copy for you.
It was so great.
It's your own personal copy.
Best.
You can tell me what you think of it.
Yeah, so far, like, it's only one page, favorite that.
Well, we worked hard to get it on one page.
Just delete for me, I
Okay.
get it on my floor.
All right, whenever you're ready, we're ready to start. If you wanna go over anything that was said, or,
I want to say good evening.
great.
And I'm Attorney Marjorie Shansky. I represent 91 Sheffield LLC. I'm here with Mike Gott, our civil engineer. Abigail Adams from our landscape architect is here as well. And Pete Nielsen, our marine engineer, is here too. I have sent earlier on, a few days ago, a summary letter for the commission, and I brought you each a copy. This is the original, so you can hand to her. For the file. For the file. Yes.
We'll take that as correspondence.
Pardon me? And here's a copy for you. Copy for you. And. You gave one, this has one, okay, and some copies for you over here. Oh, this is nice of these. There you go. And I will say a few words about it, but perhaps at the end, after we conduct our business with you. The first order of business, which is, although Matt and Attorney Willis and Ms. Costa have left the room. I'm handing in this evening. Something I'm guessing you've never seen before, but correct me if I'm incorrect. As of July. As of October. Public Act 2573 requires that. Any person who submits an environmental, health, traffic, or economic impact study or evaluation in connection with a land use application. Pending approval by the zoning commission. Shall include in such submission a statement disclosing the author or authors of such study or evaluation. All costs associated with the completion of such study or evaluation and the name of the person or entity that paid such costs. And any conflict of interest that may impact the ability of such author or authors to provide unbiased data or conclusions in such study or evaluation. In rendering a decision on any such application, such commission shall consider whether A, the information disclosed in any such statement, or B, failure to include such statement impacts the reliability of such study or evaluation. And I have prepared for you, for the record, the author, the cost, the name of the environmental, traffic, the kinds of reporting called out in the statute for this application. Have you seen it before? Yeah, neither had Attorney Willis.
Brand
this
new.
is- oh, for-
Brand new requirement.
The second order of business is, Mr. Ott has, some changes in the plans to discuss with you.
Good evening again. Just for the record, I'm Mike Hawk. I'm a licensed professional engineer and land surveyor. Is Abigail Adams on our landscape architect? Is she on the meeting?
Is that her?
A2 and PC1.
Could.
A2 land,
that
that'll Abigail, thank you.
should be her, yeah. She should be able to share the revised plans.
Good evening, I'm here. I had my
I
hand,
have,
so thank you. I can share my plans, yes.
yeah, could you show the entry, the entryway,
Yes,
Abigail?
yes.
Okay, thank you. So we've made some. I think they're helpful, or I was gonna call them minor, but I think maybe they're significant, maybe is better.
Responsive.
Responsive, that's a good word.
Awesome.
So we have, that, maybe can you zoom in
Sure.
a little more if you could? So what we've done is, move the entry island and the stone masonry pillars and the stone masonry wall closer to Sheffield Street by a significant distance. I can't remember truthfully the distance. It's something like, if I recall, significant. And we've added 3 parking spaces on the right as you drive in. little difficult to see in this particular drawing because the stormwater system is partially beneath the parking. But we've added 3 parking spaces that are actually a little bit bigger than the town's requirements. They're 10 by 20 rather than 9 by 18. And, we have also removed the gates that were going to be between, those stone masonry columns. In addition, we've added signage, which, Abigail, could you go to I think it's it is the second to last detail sheet that shows the signage in color.
Let's see here.
Oh, I'm sorry, it might be, it's not, yeah, it's the fourth to last maybe.
No problem. Let me zoom out a little bit.
It's on the bottom right, yeah, there it is.
Okay, now I can zoom in again.
So because we've added parking, we've added a sign and changed one sign. So these are standard Connecticut DEP shoreline public access signs. They're actually brown and white like that. So what we've done is you see how there's an A, B, and C identifier for each of the 3 signs. The first sign will be out, sign A, with the arrow would be out closest to Sheffield Street. The second sign would be by the parking, that identifies the parking as public access parking. And the third sign would appear in 2 places further into the site at the entrance to both walkways. The public access walkways, the one on the right that the developer is going to construct, and the one on the left that the town may construct in the future, if you recall. So, those are the changes to my plans. Then Abigail, of course, revised the landscape plan to reflect these entryway changes. So just really quick in summary, the entry median island's been moved a lot closer, parking spaces have been added, and I think clearer signage has been added. And Abigail had to revise the landscape at the entry. These, we recognize that you're not gonna act tonight. We know that the consulting town engineer hasn't had time to review these. We didn't get him into him in time for him to review them for tonight's meeting, but we know that that'll come between now and the next meeting. So we just wanted to show you these revisions and get any comments, receive any comments that you might have or questions you might have about the revisions.
Great, thank you. Any immediate questions, anybody?
And Abigail can show you the landscape changes too.
Well, why don't we just see those?
One moment, okay. Hopefully my screen's back up. So really what we did in terms of the revisions to the landscaping, we're simply taking and relocating again the entry columns, the wall and the walkway, and as Mr. Ah had stated, moving those closer to Sheffield. And oops, very sorry about that. And we just shifted the landscape accordingly. There are no major changes at all related to the landscaping. It was merely a shifting of what we had originally proposed and moving that along with the wall and the masonry entry columns.
Mr. Chair, given that, the town engineer has not provided his comments, it may be premature for me to go too deeply into my summary.
Okay.
Because we're coming back.
Yeah.
But I think that, Mr. Nielsen has some remarks that he'd like to leave with the commission, and of course, we're here for your questions.
Thank you.
The gist of my remarks, really are in response to, DEP's letter, which was received the afternoon of your last meeting, and, I had not seen it until the, actual meeting itself. But I'd like to address the points that were brought up by the DEP, because as it says, there are no regulations associated with the DEP's review of a code site plan. There are policies and standards that they would like to see implemented in order to maintain consistency with the actual act that was created, I should say, enacted in 1980. I'd also like to point out that since this site was first utilized for making spars and sails, and ultimately there were several buildings built. And but the site has been substantially vacant and unutilized for 70 years. I think that is a telling commentary on how the marine industrial zone really is tough to apply to this site. We've got on the site, the whole north half of the site is tidal wetlands. And we've got setbacks that are created through the zoning regulations and through gateway, and then we've got some inland wetlands, which has other setbacks. And what that leaves us with is a very small area that can be utilized for any type of development. This area that I've shown in green, and pardon my somewhat archaic depiction, but I mean, you get the idea. This is the only area that can be developed for this site. All of this to the north is not usable. And not usable for building and such. So in the DEP letter, they say that they want to make sure that this is consistent with all of the standards for development and so on. But I've written an analysis indicating the suitability of this site for marine industrial types of usage. And I gave this a lot of thought while I was developing the narrative, and this was several years ago. The development of this site is tough. The soils have very special considerations in order for structural suitability for almost any type of building except for the dock that we proposed, because that's going to be pile supported. And that's over in this area at the far northeast corner. And this is a small dock. We have a pier that spans roughly 65 feet, has a 40-foot ramp, has some floating dock sections and so on. And it's just barely large enough for boats to sit on it and tie up. And they're in relatively shallow water, a foot and a half at low tide. And I specifically chose that low tide water depth so that the boats would not be in bottom contact except at exceptionally low tides. And so for the first couple of years, there will be some minor bottom contact. But this is a small piece of development. As the DEP raised the issue, there was formerly a kayak dock proposed for the creek. The water depth in there was less than a foot at low tide. Most of those dock components, the floating docks, would be built off site, as these will be brought into the site, towed by a boat, and set in place, locate or anchored with piles that can be driven from land for this part. For the kayak dock, they couldn't be. They'd have to be screwed in piles. But since that's no longer part of the development, we're not going to go into any further on that. The site development is compliant with FEMA standards, and the most significant thing that I wanted to point out is, for 70 years, this site has not been suitable for marine water dependent uses. Water dependent being defined by the DEP as use that has to have access to navigable water in order for it to be considered usable as water dependent. After the zoning factors are, we also had in 1987 the Tidal Wetlands Act, which says you can't build any kind of structures except pile supported structures in the tidal wetlands. You also had the Gateway Commission standards, which came out in the 90s, which added this second setback. And this is a slightly colored version of the landscaping plan to show where the real development is, not so much on the entranceway, but out here on the main part of the site. And the thing that really struck me about what has been created through this landscaping plan is there's about 100 trees that are either dead or diseased, dying, or invasive species that are being taken out on this site plan. But there's like 1,400 plants that are being installed here. And they are all native, non-invasive, salt tolerant, and highly productive plants, deciduous and evergreens. And the ecological value of this site is going to be significantly enhanced by this project. Even the systems, the drainage systems that Mr. Ives designed here with ground infiltration for each one of the houses and for the roadside drainage facilities. These are exceptional features of this design, and all aimed at improving the ecological value of this site. And in a lot of respects, this is a very, very good plan. It is suitable for the land. It's consistent with the neighborhoods. These are residential structures. We've got residential structures all along the east. We've got a cemetery on the west, but then there's more residential structures over to the west of the cemetery. And so this really is a consistent development with the character and nature of this part of town. And so in my opinion, this is a good plan. This is a good use of this land. I know that there are some issues that will be worked out about the paths. Both paths are shown on this landscape drawing. This is the one that comes up and goes by the dock and has a seating area over here to overlook the north part of North Cove. And you know, it's meaningful. It is adjacent to, but not attached to, the individual dock facility that we proposed. The DEP has indicated that they had requested that the application for the dock facilities be withdrawn until the town zoning issues could be addressed, and so we did that. And so the next step for us after the approval of this project by you will be to complete the dock permitting applications and get them back to the DEP. I'd also like to point out that I know that there were some concerns about having voting access, public access voting from this site. But I'd like to just remind you that the better voting access site is really at the town dock, just a quarter of a mile south of this site, the town marina complex. So that really is everything that I felt that was important to say. I think this is a good plan and we've worked hard to make it so. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to address them at this point.
Mr. Nielsen, if I can, will you be submitting these as part of the record or sending us a set as part of the record?
Sure, I can give you these if you want.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not sure you're the right person to ask, but I can't tell from the plans, did they include an extension to the second public seating area in North Cove?
I'm not aware I'm not sure where that is, Mike, can you?
Yes, I think you mean the, sorry. I think you mean there.
I don't know, it just said that at a public hearing, you said you put an extension to a second public seating area in North Cove.
Yeah, so this is if you recall, this is the, portion that the town would build at some point.
Yeah.
And there's this spur and seating here. And then the portion that, again, the applicant would build is this portion. And there's, seating here.
So that's North
Seating.
Cove, over there.
Yeah, this is.
Up there.
Yeah, actually, this is a tidal creek in North Cove. This is all where my hand is, all North Cove.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's actually 3 seating, and there's 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
I just want to make one comment about, your claim that dead trees are not good. That's not really the case. If you are a hiker and you're in, on developed trails, they often will put a little sign on a dead tree. They call it like a critter condo. It's like, owls, possums, different animals will set up housekeeping in dead trees. Within it, they call them cavities. So dead trees are not a bad thing. But I'm all for removing Phragmites and invasive species. But it would be kind of neat if you did have this maple trail that you left them a dead tree as an example of something that's good for the environment.
You made this comment earlier and we noted it, and I think that I did, yes. Somebody did, and somebody did.
I know we've been talking about the eagle's nest.
No, somebody did mention it, and I think that there's a balancing that needs to occur as to the location of a dead tree, so that if it falls from a liability perspective. So, but we heard this comment and are evaluating how to accommodate.
I know I've commented on nesting season and removing trees during nesting season, so maybe.
I heard some comment to refer to the benefits of trees, dead trees.
Any other questions, Marion? I just was wondering about we had talked about a sidewalk. Just because it's part of the development of sidewalks in certain areas of town, especially by schools. Part of the town sidewalk plan from 15 years ago. I'm just interested in thoughts, comments, or feedback on. I understand that we've put in now parking spaces as part of the plan down there, but still, what about a sidewalk on one side of it, even if it's for kids who live in any of those houses that might live there that are going to the middle school or any of the other sidewalks in town?
So, there is no, you're correct, there's no sidewalk proposed on the site. There is, you probably know, there's a existing sidewalk now from the town dock heading all the way up to Main Street on the left side going towards Main, and partially on the right side, not completely, but partially, yeah, but no, there's no proposal included on this site for sidewalk. This site is, you can't see it on that sheet, but this site is so narrow. This site is so narrow here that it would, a sidewalk coming up this would put the sidewalk very close to the houses. These 2 houses are pretty close to the edge of that road now.
And the vegetation, I'll just use the word, it's not the proper word, but the vegetation setbacks on either side of the streets, does that allow for walking on grass or anything, or does the plantings and stuff, does that go all the way to the curb? How is that?
Lawn would go to the edge of the drive, the long access drive.
And would the lawn be considered private property? And the only reason why I ask is if we do have people parking in those, I'm just trying to get ahead of issues,
Yeah.
so if someone's parking in those public spaces that
Yeah.
you put in the plan, and then they're walking on that lawn so that they don't have to walk on the street.
Yeah.
Could that or will that be a problem?
I don't think so, given the number of homes and when you look at, traffic generation from 4 single family homes, I don't think so. It would be different if it was on Sheffield Street, for instance. But given that there's only 4 single family homes here, I don't think so. It wouldn't be much different than somebody walking on a street where, taking a walk that is now, sidewalk today. And because it's a private drive and there's only 4 homes, and I don't think it would be fun.
Is there a sign that says private drive planned for the street?
There will be, just like every municipality is actually supposed to, sign their public streets and private streets with a sign. This is actually a private driveway, but yes, it would have a private sign.
Regarding your signage, that says public access. Is there a type of sign which has like the binoculars on it, which implies that it's just a viewing access and not a place, to put in your boat?
I know what you mean. So those, I know what you mean. I'll check. I don't know. But I don't know if you really looked at those signs.
Yeah.
They don't have anything to do with the boat. They just show water and a person walking.
Right.
That's all those signs show. But I'll check. I don't know, actually.
I'm just afraid
Yeah.
that people will try to drive in with a kayak on their roof.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rack and think that they have access to.
So, yeah, I hear you. We could add, there's the signs now. I believe that's just, if I remember right, that's just a person walking and you see the water under it. So I'll check to see, there are variations of this for, kayaks. There's a sign just like this with a cyclist on it. There's a sign just like this for someone, launching a kayak into the water. I think there's others too. But if there isn't a standard sign, we could add, to these, a different plate below that explains that it's a viewing.
Just to be a little bit proactive, because I know I've tried to hunt down places to launch a boat.
Yeah,
That turns out to just be a viewing area.
right. I don't see why we couldn't do that.
And I think here in town, there's a lot of road endings that are designated as either viewing only or a place to put in your boat.
There's about 91, if I remember right, 91 and 92.
And those that are improved have the standard deep signs,
Yeah.
which that's a standard deep
Yeah.
sign. I think they used to say coastal access though, a
Yeah,
little years ago.
yeah. I think these are film signs, but I'll check.
And I don't take one. Is the private drive sign mandatory?
I don't know about Old Saybrook. In certain towns, the emergency service responders want them labeled, but I don't know about Old Saybrook. I can check.
Yeah, because I just think it's
Yeah.
contradictory. It's like parking in New York City, you can, but you can't. It's a
Yeah.
private drive, but it's public access. I think
Yeah.
it might be.
I'll check. I don't know. Some towns have a policy on it. I know they're public works.
But if they don't,
policy.
I would think it'd be nice to not have it, so there's no ambiguity.
And there's designated parking permissions, your spaces, but for overflow parking on Sheffield Street or on Saltus, where you anticipate that's gonna be, cars. come to
Well,
instead.
It's hard to say whether overflow parking would be necessary, but, there is parking allowed down by the town dock. There's certain places where you can't park everywhere on a street. There's places basically in statute that don't allow parking. There's specific parking prohibition signage that the police commission has authorized, but there are places down by the town dock where you can park. But that would assume that there was more than 3 cars there, so, yeah.
Isn't it also that this is an extension of other public access walkways over there? Where
Yeah, but that, we don't know if that'll happen. We don't know if this will, this is up to the town. This could happen in the future or not. We don't know.
I would assume it'd be more appropriate to talk about the dock when we come back to talk about the dock, or is now the time to talk about the dock?
You could ask Keith, but it is a deep permit program. It's really, actually, would the zoning commission even see it? The application?
yes, one of the most of public notes.
But.
I mean, when you said you would come back for that?
Go back to
No?
E. We don't, it's
Oh,
on the
okay.
plan,
Okay,
so. It is in the master plan.
Sure.
But it is permitted elsewhere.
gotcha. My only question was if the dock was, because you talked about it could fit up to 4 boats. Was that for obviously the residents of the street, right? And then 2, were those meant to be seasonal permanent docks for their boats or like transitory docks? I guess because it's for the people who would only be living there, it would be if they have a boat, they can put it there, but it still has to only be the ability to fit within a amount of water, right? So I'm just wondering.
They could be seasonal or they could be
Yeah,
permanent.
it's basically like a slip for the residences.
Correct.
Yeah.
The reason they're floating docks is because the physical reach of crane from shore can't get out that far.
Sure.
And a crane that comes in is also going to be limited for hours of access due to the tides and so on. So that they'll have to come in, drive some piles quick, set some floats and go back out at lower tides and then come back in to finish the job. This part of the job will go very fast, a matter of a couple of days.
And that the maintenance and everything of the dock would be up to the people who own properties and that.
Correct.
Yeah, right, okay. Okay, thank you. Anyone else have any?
Yeah,
Please.
so logistically, the parking spaces, you might have talked about this at the last meeting, but I can't remember. And I know we didn't have the parking spaces then. So the parking spaces, how did it, because it's a private drive and it's a private property. So how does it work in terms of the parking spaces being accessible to the public? And then how can they get from the spaces to the path? Is there like a formal easement that gets granted, or how does that work?
So the parking spaces will have the deep signage that says parking, public access parking. And that will be related visually so that it leads them to it. And then they will walk to the path.
I guess I'm trying to understand, if it's a private piece of property, is there a legal avenue that has to be like an access easement or something that has to be granted to allow the public to walk on it and park on it?
Well, I think there will be a public access easement.
Yeah, and
Okay,
similar if I could to the one I've mentioned on Whisper Cove Road, that walkway's on private property.
okay.
Starts at the road and as soon as it hits the right of way line, it'll be on private property. I don't know the stat, and I don't know if Chris will remember about it. It's likely that there's a public access easement there.
Pretty confident there
Is
is.
that how it's usually handled?
For all of the
Okay.
projects that I've recently, in the last couple of years, done with public access, there has been an easement.
Okay,
that gets
that's what,
recorded.
okay, thank you.
Anything else?
Oh, I would just add, and then to the top, because I'm not relinquishing my sort of summary comments, but with respect to the deep letter, within, and I discussed this briefly in mine. He does acknowledge, the writer at Deep does acknowledge that the public access is recognized as water dependency under 22A 93 16. And And he also acknowledges in the letter, and you may recall, that he is not the arbiter of coastal consistency. This commission is. They write letters to you, but you make the decision. And then Mr. Nielsen has provided, and I've provided an argument that would support that outcome.
In light of our engineer to review the information that was put forward, are you willing to help grant us some time, continuation of the public hearing?
What's the date of that meeting, Chris?
May 4th.
May 4th? Yes, I will send you another letter.
It's a reminder too, it's a public
Yeah,
hearing.
so-
I'm not sure who's online, if there's anyone.
Is there anyone in the audience today who would like to speak on this? Yes, sir, please state your name.
My name is Jim Tilley. I'm a resident of Saybrook Village for 14 years. So I've been listening to these arguments for several sessions now, and I agree with the architect that it's a good property to develop. But for those concerned on the Salsa side and on senior housing side, is the walkway is the issues. If that was eliminated, yeah, it's a great property to develop. And if you look at it with the 75 trees and the bushes going in 45, when the project is finished, it's gonna be spectacular. And you'll have 4 residents in there. And it's a tough property to get in and look at, but you have to look at it from the cemetery side and also from the Salsa side and from the front. So that's the thing, why the walkways at all? And you're talking about all these signs. And our doors, we have automatic doors, people still use the handles. They don't pay attention to the signs. We have signs on the property that says, don't have your dog curb your dog. Dog takes a dump in front of the sign, people just walk off. So to me, it's like, yes, I agree with this gentleman here, but the walkways, it's like, why is it necessary? You know, if you just eliminated that and put it in for residential, it's perfect. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the audience here? Anyone online wish to speak? Seeing any? Okay,
Thank you. I will leave you with a request to please take a look at my summary letter, because I've marshaled the evidence for the ease of the commission, and also discuss the consistency of the plan development district with section 36 of the regulations, which is of course the foundational section of the regulations. With that, I'm very happy to leave you to it and see you again on the 4th of May.
great, thank you very
You
much.
need to.
So, yeah, so with that, we will need, a motion to continue the public hearing until the May 4th. Regularly scheduled zoning,
The 2 public hearings.
the full for the plan development district and the special exception permit for 91 Sheffield Street. We want to make a motion for both at the same time to continue.
Thanks. Do we want to designate an alternate to vote in Mark's place?
Did someone get seated or did I?
Yeah,
Sorry.
yes.
You know what? You need to see somebody from there.
It's, we're not voting tonight, so. It's
So they're
already
just
here.
making a motion to continue
Oh,
the hearing,
okay.
so they would still need someone seated from.
So you need to seat
Okay.
someone from Mark.
Or should we
Who's your next in
first,
line?
should we first seat and then make the, since
Yeah.
halfway through the meeting? All right, who's the? Who would you be the first person seated? Okay, so do we need a motion or do we just see?
We just see.
Okay, so designated.
Brenda?
Yep, first. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, so
Thank you.
now, would somebody like to make a motion to continue the public hearings for 91 Sheffield Street, both the plan development district and the special exception permit, to continue until the regularly scheduled May 4th zoning meeting?
So good.
Moved. Anyone second? Second. Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye, any opposed?
Abstentions. Okay. So we are opening. Okay, so I'd like to accept the motion to open public hearing for 60 Ingham Hill Road.
So we don't need a vote.
Okay, I'm going to open the public hearing for 60 Ingham Hill Road. Application for a special exception permit to permit grading and fill more than 100 cubic yards within a calendar year of the driveway to access a new residential home at 60 Ingham Hill Road, map 28, lot 3, Residence A District, Coastal Area Management Zone, AE 10 flood zone. Great, and we have Brian.
Yes. Correct.
Great, Brian, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having us. For the record, my name is Ryan McAvoy. I'm a licensed professional engineer with SLR. I'm here on behalf of the applicant for the development of a single family house on property known as 60 Ingham Hill Road. This site is located on the east side of Ingham Hill Road, roughly right across the street from the football field and track, the high school. And it's surrounded by residential properties along Ingham Hill to the north and to the south. McDonald's is just about a quarter mile to the south of here. And the Oyster River and surrounding tidal wetlands represent the bulk of the abutters, using air quotes for those online, to the south and east and north, really. So the site overall is about 8 acres in size, although only about 4 of those acres are located upgrading of tidal wetlands. On this particular plan, the black line represents the overall property boundary, this yellow greenish line, colored line, so I may be stating that wrong. I colored it, but is the limits of the tidal wetlands. And what we're seeking to do is extend a driveway from Ingham Hill Road through the site to sort of a high point or knoll in the rear of the property. Well, actually the central part of the property, but in the rear of the landward part of the site, where the applicant seeks to build a single family home, detached garage, and pool, accessory patios, things like that. So we're for this board because of a request to place more than 100 cubic yards of fill at the site. So we have been in front of the zoning board of appeals for fill within 50 feet of a tidal wetland, which we received approval for. And the reason why we're seeking to put fill into the site is, I think, reasonably straightforward to understand, is that the site is almost entirely within the floodplain, the 100-year floodplain, tidal floodplain of associated with the Oyster River, but it's really not a riverine floodplain. The house is located in an area that's roughly right at that floodplain elevation of 10. But the balance of the site, particularly where the driveway is going in, is below that. So in order to get back to a part of the parcel that is at or near the floodplain, the applicant seeks to import materials so that the driveway itself is also above the floodplain. Certainly, he doesn't really have much of an interest in building a house that becomes an island during a flood event. So the purpose of, again, why we're here is to get approval for the fill. So how much fill are we talking about? Well, it ranges anywhere from essentially 0 feet of fill as you enter in the site. Not much around the house, maybe inches to a foot, if that. But the balance of the fill is anywhere from 1 to 5 feet of fill to build the driveway in this area. That overall represents about 1,400 cubic yards of imported material. It's not a tremendous amount for a site of this nature. It's something that can be accomplished by Mr. Sweeney, the applicant, who is a site contractor himself, probably within a week or so, if that, to grade the material, form the grade, and then build the driveway. That's probably a number that Mr. Sweeney is very accustomed to. He's there probably 10 times or more of that material on a daily basis. So this is a fairly straightforward site plan from his perspective. That's the reason why we're here fundamentally. Again, as I mentioned, we did receive approval from the zoning board of appeals. We have gotten approval from Connecticut River Area Health District for the septic system to support this house. It will be served by public water, which is nice. and extending for Hingham Hill Road. And we did receive comments from your consulting engineer, which we found reasonable. And I do have written responses that I'd be happy to provide. And if you're really interested, I do have revised plans reflecting the changes we've made to address his comments. But given that we received the comments today, I don't know if you guys are really into getting plans at the day of the meeting, but happy to pass them out if you're interested in our response, or I can just kind of go through them quickly and just sort of summarize, whatever your pleasure, Mr. Chair.
I think maybe going through them based on the ones where the engineer had more of the concerns than.
Sure.
That'd be great.
So, the big item with regard to this application again with Phil, I'll note that, Mr. Jacobson, just noted that this is a tidal floodplain area. It's not in an area of limited wave action or limb walk. So there's no activity associated with the fill within this part of the floodplain that is contrary to your floodplain ordinance. Now, some of his comments that relate to flood compliance on the property are related to the house and the detached garage. So we set our house at elevation 12 or a little bit over 12, which is the minimum required for a habitable residence in town. He does ask whether or not this is built on frame with a crawl space or anything. This is gonna be built slab on grade. So we believe that's in compliance with your flood ordinance. The detached garage will be built at about elevation just over 10. So that garage will have to incorporate flood vents, which will need about 8 square feet of flood vents across the 2 sides of the garage. Very straightforward to allow flood waters, if it does happen, to pass into the structure without creating hydrostatic pressure and then flow out after the flood recedes. Very straightforward from a construction architectural perspective. They're really not, they're pretty benign and easy to incorporate. He did ask us to provide documentation that the underground storage that we're providing for roof runoff meets the 1.3 inches of storage for water quality volume, which we've included in our response. And he did note that there is a low area, as I kind of mentioned before, I alluded to the maximum area to fill, a low area in the property. It's still upgraded at the tidal wetland, so it's still dry land. But he did say that recommend that we include a small culvert just to let water pass underneath that driveway, which we've included in our revised plans, although we haven't submitted them yet formally, but very easy item to incorporate. And he also had some comments regarding the pool and regarding pool equipment, that any pool equipment, mechanical equipment needs to be elevated to elevation 12 or better. Again, this is an area that's at about 9-10 right now, so it's certainly not unreasonable to elevate any pumps or mechanical equipment to elevation 12 or above. And that the pool itself, should it be dry or empty, have again some hydrostatic vents that would allow water to enter, so that you don't create a bathtub and risk of flotation, which which is easy to do. So we're able to comply with that. I would add that the details associated with the pool, we typically and we're showing it as a placeholder, but I think that those details we would respectfully ask that be a condition of approval, so that later down the road, should the pool be constructed, that a more detailed pool plan be incorporated any building plans and zoning compliance, where those elements can be shown in some detail. But with that, I hope the logic as to why we're bringing in the fill is apparent in that, again, we're trying not to create an island for this house that otherwise complies with the floodplain ordinance. That bringing this fill is almost entirely associated with bringing a rather lengthy driveway up to grade that's you're smoothing it out. That's a kind of a quick and dirty presentation. But I think, I've touched on some of the major elements that Mr. Jacobson brought up, and also the substance of the application. So if there's any questions from the commission or the public, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you.
So just to kind of quickly summarize, Ms. Costa, for the record, I met some of you.
Not all of you. So Jeff Jacobson does his comments relating to floodplain whenever there's a structure. So the flood ordinance, it's an ordinance, it's not a zoning regulation, so we can work those details out afterwards. What you're focusing on tonight is a special exception permit for more than 100 yards of cubic fill or cubic yards of fill being brought onto a property within a calendar year in the coastal site plan. So it appears that everything here has or can be addressed by the applicant. So rather than to get into the specifics, if you were to make a motion, I think it all can be just one
Sure.
comment.
Do we
You have, it's a
do
public hearing
questions
as
at a
well.
public hearing?
This,
Okay, does any of the members of the commission have any questions first?
So the culvert underneath the driveway is,
that Jeff reviewed, that's what Jeff was, his review was the fill, the culvert. And that's so pretty, my discussions with Jeff today,
Yeah, essentially,
is that a condition of the approval? for
I
this?
just conditioned that they meet
Yeah.
Jeff Jacobson's approval or Jeff Jacobson's letter and keep it at that. If that's,
that's, yeah.
keeping it kind of to the point versus going one by one, and then there will be a little wiggle room, obviously, with the pool design and that. So.
Any questions? Okay, this being a public hearing, are there anybody in the audience who has any questions or comments?
Yeah, I just had a question.
Please state your name.
Yes, Ed Maynard, I own the property. I currently own a farm down there, known as Ignorant Organics. And I know last November, there was some additional layers of regulatory review that had to be done. We didn't get the permit or the application in prior to, I think, an October change in regulatory review to require the DEEP.
So yeah, that's the coastal site plan review, which is
Okay.
part of the application tonight.
So, well, I just was curious as to what the DEEP said. Or they had,
We haven't-
if they had any.
We have not received a response. We can hold this open if you want to
I
wait
was
for a
just
response.
curious and,
But
because I didn't know if maybe perhaps they wanted the applicant, my agent, to reconsider the approach to the property. There was a farm road that was approved in the nineties by, my dad got approved. And it is an existing culvert.
so this is a referral for coastal site plan review.
This
That's
is-
within the jurisdiction of the zoning commission. There's
Yeah.
a mandatory referral because it has fill in the floodplain.
Right.
If you'd like us to hold the hearing open for deep comments, we can, but I think the
Yeah, I just
commission
wanted to make
can-
sure that it wasn't gonna be a surprise later.
This isn't a deep permit.
So
This
it's not a
is-
deep permitted thing, but they do have comments on it, correct?
They have the opportunity to make
To
comments.
comment, they can pass or not, okay.
And we did, they were notified during the zoning board of appeals application as well, and that their 35-day window in that application passed, and there's
Yes.
no comment offered from the state, so.
Okay, that was my only comment, thank you.
Anyone online who wishes to comment? Not seeing any? Okay, so I guess if the commission's okay with it, first we would close public hearing. So if the commission's okay, he feels we can move forward, would anyone like to make a motion to close the public hearing?
I move that we close public hearing.
Okay, is there a second? Second, all in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Saying none, motion passes. Okay, do we feel comfortable with, would it be approving the application with the conditions based on the town engineer's letter as well as, with the pool, it just being, hold aside for now, but if that were to be developed, that would come back to the committee, is that what's?
So no, so the pool, what they're saying is they want to make some modifications to the pool. The reason this application is in front of you is for mainly the fill.
Right, just the fill.
So the only other part of it is the coastal site plan review.
Okay.
So if you just allow Jeff and I to just
Great.
handle the pool, it wouldn't need to come back to you and you just approve the application with the condition they meet the town engineer's comments. And that if you feel the application is consistent with all applicable coastal policies and meets all reasonable measures to mitigate adverse impacts, then you could, to address the CAM, then that would
Excellent.
probably be the easiest way to.
All right, Joanne, you got that? That's the motion?
Mhm.
All right, would anyone like to make a motion on that? To approve, site plan modification, right? It's like coastal site plan
Approve the special exception
permit, right?
permit for 60 Ingham Hill Road for grading and fill of more than 100 cubic yards within a calendar year for a driveway in a residential home, and then
Yeah, with the conditions as set forth.
With the conditions set forth by the town engineers.
with the
His
condition that the
comments.
applicant address the town engineer's comments and that the commission finds.
I have that.
Great.
His comments and the commission finds that this project would be approved as submitted because it is consistent with all applicable coastal policies and makes all reasonable efforts to mitigate adverse effects.
Great. So move second, okay? All in favor? Say aye, aye. Any opposed? Abstain? Okay, motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Good
much.
night.
Did you?
Yes. Next up is to open a public hearing for Max's Place, an application for a special exception permit to construct a 7,481 square foot building for retail / restaurant uses, parking and amenities. 12 and 22 Spencer Plain Road, served map 25, lot 31, and map 26, lot 612. Gateway Business B4 District pedestrian node. Mr. Syax. Did I
He
get-
is online.
He's online, all
Let me
right.
get him up.
Is David there?
Yeah, oh, there he is.
Well, Dave, whenever you're ready, we are ready for you.
Yes, sir. Good
Okay,
evening,
great.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. I apologize for not being there in person this evening, but this afternoon I found out from my doctor that I either have early onset of Lyme's disease or the flu. So so far I'm holding out for tonight's presentation. So we'll move forward. But I believe in the audience there this evening is Ron Lyman and I think his son Max Lyman would be there. And Chris Millard, who is the project architect for Max's Place. I want to start out with, I think the share should work. This is the a colored rendering from way back. I found it, 2013 when Max's was approved. It had 129,000 square feet of various retail uses, including the Big Y store and the Kohl's department store. And that total parcel of land, as you can see, has a lot of interesting nooks and crannies to it, but it turns out to be 17.68 acres, and it's all in the B4 zone, and also has the pedestrian node overlay to allow the liner buildings along Spencer Plain Road. When we got this approved, we had 730 parking spaces approved. Only 601 were ever constructed. The other 129 were put into deferral. And you can see over here on the eastern side, sort of, half-toned or highlighted over here. That was the 129 spaces that were never built. Max's did not include 12 Spencer Plain Road, which was the small lot that's around 10,600 square feet. That for many years had a home occupation on there, single-family home. And recently, Ron Lyman was able to purchase that lot. And the proposal this evening is to merge that lot into the special exception for Max's Place. And we'll create a new project area of 19 or 17 rather, 0.91 acres. And again, all of that will be in the B4 zone with the pedestrian node. Now, by adding this piece of property, this provides the opportunity to add another liner building, which we're calling C, which will be about 7,549 square feet. And we'll look at the site plan in a second. So we currently have two lots, number 12, which was the address for the small house, and 22, which is the address for Max's Place. And what we'd like to do is to stay with two lots. We applied to the Planning Commission to reconfigure the two lots into what we called Lot A and Lot B. Lot A is basically the Max's Place. The main portion of Max's Place would be on Lot A, and then Lot B, we'll take a look at that in a second. The new building would be on Lot B, and the septic system, which will go for Lot B, will be over here on the east side. So the buildings, the principal parking for the new building and the septic system would be on that Lot B, and Lot A is the remainder of Max's Place. As we explained to the commission the other night, what we're the reason for doing it this way is basically to separate financing for the expansion area away from the main financing that's in place for the shopping center. And also, we're proposing a second septic system for the building C, and it has to be on its own lot per the state health code. And the existing system that serves Max's Place right now is at capacity. So there's no opportunity to expand that right now. Let me see if I can get my site plan to show up here. Again, I apologize because normally I have this in a PowerPoint situation, and it moves much easier. But I wasn't able to put that together today. So let's see. I have to go get it. There we are. Okay. So this is the site plan in the area that where the new building C will be located along Spencer Plain Road. And you can see it would be a new building, about 7,549 square feet. Right now, we're looking at 4 tenant spaces. And the existing curb cut that served the house for many years, that will be closed on Spencer Plain. And the sidewalk, the public sidewalk, will be extended across that. So there's no new driveways or exiting or entrances on either Spencer Plain Road or Route 1 with this proposal. The dumpster locations right now, if you're down at Max's, there's a dumpster location located right in this area here, and we're proposing to move that way down to the south end, and then put another one up here, way up at the north end near where Five Guys is. Five Guys is the ones who primarily use this dumpster area, and they have to walk across the parking lot. So now their dumpster will be right next to their building. So that's going to work out nice. And then this is all designed with the pedestrian nodes requirements for the proper landscaping, sidewalk interconnection. The nice thing about this layout is we're going to be able to do an outdoor seating area on the north side of the building and an outdoor seating area, or at least the opportunity for one on the south side of the building, assuming the tenants would like to do that. And the landscaping scheme that's being proposed matches what's on the rest of Max's Place. The lighting, we're actually relocating 2 light standards that are there now to put them in the new landscaped islands, and we're only adding 1 new light standard right over here in this corner, just to get rid of that one dark spot. We are adding in 6 EV charging stations down in this lower area over here. And what's nice about this layout is the shopping center will be interconnected with the public sidewalk. So on the north side, you'll be able to walk out to the public sidewalk. On the south side, you'll be able to walk out to the public sidewalk. And then what we're doing is we're introducing a new interior sidewalk. So you'll be able to walk from the new building through the parking area, but in a nice, safe manner, and get over to the existing Big Y store. So this is new. This route is new through here. We will be, the parking will increase from the 601 that's out there now to 603. By the zoning regulations, the shopping center only needs 550 to meet the minimum requirements for zoning regs. But the parking layout here in front of the new building has a nice clean look to it. And it's, you know, you have parking along the face of the building, similar to what's on the Liner building just to the north of us, which has been very successful. So the parking area you can see is just a continuation of the existing parking flow out here. And I think it's going to work out really nice. We also have a bike rack posed over in this area over in here. And I think we meet all of the zoning regulations within the B4 zone. Again, there's no change to exiting or entrances into the Max's Place. And because of this additional square footage, we have already applied to the State Traffic Commission, OSTA, for modification to the operating permit for Max's Place. And your traffic consultant and parking consultant that you folks use, H&H, they provided a letter to you folks dated back on April 10th, and they concurred with our traffic study and our parking proposal. So I think the traffic, we got the traffic experts on the same page. So that's always good. As far as the storm drainage, Max's Place currently has a huge underground stormwater chamber system that was installed back in 2013. Literally the entire parking lot under Big Y and in front of our Liner building BC has an underground detention system. In addition to that, there are 3 open detention ponds, one up at the north end, way up near the railroad tracks, and then 2 smaller ones down near the entrance off of Route 1. And then we have a very large detention basin that we constructed on Lot 16, which is to the east on Center Road, the corner of Center Road and Center Road West. That's all part of the Max's Place drainage system. So when we look at impervious coverage, it's a little interesting. From a total impervious coverage from 2013, which included the deferred parking, we go from 457,999 square feet. We actually dropped down to 452,134 square feet. Because we are, if you want to call it, we're trading in the deferred parking. We don't need the deferred parking, and we would just assume take it out of the special exception, so that our special exception is the 603 parking spaces. But if we look at the more practical number, which is what's on the ground, our impervious coverage on the site, which is coverage that's constructed, we have a net addition of about 15,000 square feet of new roof area and pavement in this area right here. There's no other changes to the Max's Place site. Our design includes adding another 72 units to that large system, which currently has 973 units under the parking lot. So we have to make a small addition to handle that additional 15,000 square feet. This will provide the additional water quality volume that we need, that you folks hear about all the time. Since the 2013 approval, the new DEP regulations actually increased the amount of water quality volume by 30%. We've gone from 1 inch of runoff to 1.3 inches of runoff, and we had to accommodate that in this design. So the long and the short of it is we maintain our peak flow leaving Max's Place at below currently approved levels. And it's my professional opinion this will have no impact on the downstream watersheds. Now, of course, Jeff Jacobson is reviewing that now, and we'll see what his comments are. Hopefully he agrees with me, and we'll be in good shape. In your package, you have a letter from the health district indicating that Lot B has sufficient soil for the septic system we're proposing, good soil. You have the traffic and parking report from H&H that we talked about. We have filed for OSTA. We had a couple of initial comments from Jacobson Associates, which really didn't impact the project. And if we just very quickly take a look at the special exception criteria, which is your section 52, not to belabor that, but just to go put it into the record. Under 52.3, the application requirements are a statement of use, which I provided staff, the site plan, which was submitted, the architectural plans, which were submitted, soil and erosion control plan were submitted. Under your general standards, you talk about historic preservation. That does not really pertain to this property at all. Fire protection, we have adequate fire protection. Buildings are sprinklered. We have Connecticut Water servicing the site, and your fire marshal will be reviewing access throughout the site as he has in the past. Access to the site really isn't changing. We don't believe there'll be any hazards to pedestrians or undue traffic congestion on any of the two streets. We will be connecting the one gap to the sidewalk on Spencer Plain Road so that we have continuous sidewalks across the entire frontage of the property, both on Route 1 and Spencer Plain. The lot size conforms to the zoning regulations. The neighborhood, we're totally surrounded by commercial uses or industrial uses over on Center Road. And the site plan, the architectural plans were reviewed by your ARB, and I believe they sent a favorable recommendation to you folks regarding the architecture and just the general site plan and, overall. At this point, what I'd like to do is have Chris Millard talk about the architecture. I think you're going to find it's pretty exciting. So, Chris?
Yes.
I'm going to stop sharing. You can share now.
Okay, I do have the architectural package on a USB. Is it possible to plug that in? Otherwise,
Oh, actually, I could probably call that up. Just let me play shuffle. Let me play shuffle the deck here, and I'll get that for you.
Thanks, Dave. Yeah, I have it on my laptop too, but then my question is how I connect that.
So while Dave's finding, that, just to quickly go through, I think Dave covered most of it. We sent referrals out on March 27th. We're waiting on the building official, fire marshal, police chief. We did get comments from the fire chief. Just so in case anybody in the Max's team missed it, those should all be on the website, but I'm sure you found them. Architecture review was favorable, and on April 15th, the planning commission approved the lot line change associated with this application and endorsed the special exception as being consistent with the plan of conservation and development.
Okay, Chris, I think it's there. Can you see it?
I can see it. Thank you so much, Dave, for pulling that out. So as you can see, this is the building footprint that's shown on Dave Zayek's site plans. It's approximately 7,500 square feet total. Dave mentioned 4 tenants. There's right now that's kind of up in the air. Obviously, the building's vacant as leasing continues. The thought is it could range from 4 to 6 tenants total. The important part of the floor plan, I think, is, as you've seen in this site plan, the building faces inward towards the parking lot. So these buildings are always tricky to design, because the back of the building is right on the street facade. Obviously, we don't want to have back of the house facing the street that everybody's gonna see. So the top of that plan, that we're just there shows the building articulation, how we kind of follow that street line. Luckily, it kind of curves a little bit. It actually helps with the design. So that way the back of the building, which in this plan view that what we see now on the screen is the top elevation. So it's obviously very important, I think, to us as an architect, and I think to the town as well, to create a attractive looking building that faces the public, yet still maintaining an attractive building that faces the parking lot and addresses the primary entrances for all the tenant spaces.
These doorways that are in the back, are they just emergency exits, or it's not entrance to the?
That's the intent, right? Those are emergency exits out of those tenant spaces, back of house entrance if they need to get to those stores, but it's really primarily emergency exit. And depending on the size of the tenants, they honestly may or may not need those doors. I think if we're under a certain amount of occupancy, the front door is sufficient. But we did provide those doors depending on, because we just don't know what the tenant layout is gonna be. But also along that rear facade too, we know it's important to introduce some glazing, so it's not a solid facade. So you can see here in these elevations, again, that top facade is the street, so you can see how we've introduced some glazing to really all the tenants. And the material wise, we've also broken up the materials, which I think are best depicted here in the renderings. Again, important to us to create a facade that is not monotone, is not flat. It introduces a variety of materials to help break up the scale. As you can kind of see, we've tried to mimic a little bit of the architecture around the site. The building next door to us, to the north, that was built in 2013-ish. That has some gables, some mansard roof. So we pulled a little bit of that into this design, but also created a new flair for the center, modernizing it a little bit. Introducing some metal panels, some aluminum siding that's incredibly durable, a brick veneer as well, which you can see in those gables. And then also kind of creating an end cap to this with the tower, which mirrors the tower on, mirrors that tower element that you can see on the building to the north of us. Wow. Yeah, and here's just a pullback view to show a little bit of that facade next door. You can keep going, Dave. The street view, again, showing more of that facade next door as it sits next to our building. So you can see kind of how the gables and the mansard roof mirror each other a little bit, but then there's also some vertical parapets. Signage we've drawn in right now as placeholders. We've looked at the signage requirements within the zoning regulations. If I recall correctly, we put the larger of the signs at the street facade as kind of the primary tenant sign, and then on the inside facade, it has a reduced size per the zoning regulations. Also, I think there's a quantity of glazing requirement that faces the street, so we made sure to look at those that percentage when designing the facade. These nighttime views, I think, are really helpful to show how we're introducing lights to the building, just to kind of accent signage, but also accent various parts of the building. You see on the cupola, there's some lights surrounding that. And then there's also some sconce lights along the facade of the building. And as well as the facade facing the parking lot. We've done kind of the equal amounts of lighting both front and back.
And Chris, this photo shows the outdoor dining area for the south side too. That's a potential for that tenant there.
Yeah. Yeah, and as you mentioned too, Dave, there's pedestrian public access both from that dining area as well as from the opposite end of the building.
Yes.
And we've added detail kind of around the whole building, adding some canopies over the windows. You'll see at the other end, we've introduced some flat canopies. The total building height, I believe we're around 39 feet to the top of the cupola, so it's really the maximum height that we're at. When looking at this building, we compared it, as I mentioned, to the building next door. That one is just a couple feet taller than this one. So again, we're not creating a scale that's unusual to this area. We're aligning pretty well with the building next door.
So the cupola is just decorative, so the height would be less than 39.
That's
The maximum is
yeah.
35, just so.
Yeah, so that's measured right to the peak of it. I believe the 35, I think, is to the middle point of the main roof. So we're actually, if we're comparing it to the zoning regulations, we're significantly under it.
Could you, that was something that I thought about, can you show that on the drawing so that?
Absolutely.
And also the third space over, how, I measured it, but that's under 35 as well?
I believe so. The 35 is measured to the hip, or I'm sorry, not the hip, the midpoint of the roof, correct?
No, to the, yeah.
It's to the peak.
Not cupola, but that's a max height.
Yeah, I'll verify that, but that wasn't the intent, was to keep it under that, the zoning environment.
And the windows will not have, like, they won't be reflective or shaded, or you'll be able to see them.
That's correct. Was that the last image, Dave?
Yeah, that's it. Mhm.
Any questions on the architecture?
Mr. Heights. First of the building.
All the lights facing down.
That's correct.
Is there any uplighting in the landscaping plan right now?
No, there isn't, Mr. Chairman. Right now, down in here on Chris's drawing, you can see he has little gooseneck lamps that will be, appropriately put at the entrances and things just for security and some downward lighting on the building at night. The couple of light standards that are out in the parking lot will match the ones that are there.
There are a couple minor like medallions that you can see in this image in the bottom right corner, that diamond shape.
Yeah.
That's a very small medallion meant to kind of frame the cupolas. So those little dots that you see on the cupola is just a spot of light. It's not meant to light up the building, it's just meant to give a little accent. So, yeah, if anything, that I wouldn't call that a downward facing light, but it's a low foot candle light fixture for accent only.
We have details for the lights.
Just what's shown on architecturally, it's what's shown on this drawing here for the goosenecks and the accent light. For site lighting, I think Dave, I'd defer to you.
Didn't we get those details for architecture review? I think we went through that, and maybe they just didn't come in this package.
Or
Yeah.
Hold on.
The main signage, that's just gonna correspond to the
the big sign that's already there? Or are you adding any additional signage to entrances or streetscape?
No additional signage, as I understand, there's some vacant spots in that, monument sign that's out there now, which can be utilized by these tenants.
Dave, maybe if you can just send the specs you sent to ARB, or they should be on the website, if not. I'll add it to the next packet.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks.
Yeah, architecturally, these drawings that we're seeing tonight are the drawings that were given to the ARB earlier.
Question. What is a flat awning? Is that what you said, or a vertical awning?
Yeah, so, on this facade, you can see over at the gateway roof, there's a flat canopy. Over those doors, it basically just shows up as a line. It may be even better to see it in the elevations, the renderings. Yeah, so over the glazing, you can see there's a sloped canopy or sloped awning. And then I would call that a canopy that's over the doors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chris, that gives it the that cable suspension look, right? That everyone likes these days. Is that what those are? Cables holding the flat roof?
That's correct.
Yeah.
There's only the one way, so there's the two ways in, right? Because you're eliminating a curb cut, and so there's the main entrance where the monument sign is, and then there's the entrance for the big Y.
Yes.
But
So you have the in only entrance on Route 1, which is westbound on Route 1. Allows you to pull into the shopping center without having to go around the corner, and then the main driveway on Spencer Plain that is has the traffic light and the sign that you're talking about. Yes.
Is it normal to have a singular exit from a development this size?
You can go out the back.
There's also a complete back.
Yeah. All the big trucks that go to Kohl's and go to Big Y, they use Center Road. They don't come through the shopping center, and anyone can use Center Road. That I've used it myself many times. You can go out behind Big Y and you get right to the public street right there, and that takes you out to the traffic light at Center Road and Route 1.
I was just wondering if there was a traffic accident, for example, at the Route 1 or the Spencer Plain, would there be a way? But yeah, they could redirect out to. Okay.
Yeah. No, the good news is the proof is in the pudding. We've been operating this center now for 13 years, and being able to take a look at it again with this addition, we found no particular reason to mess around with the access or the the parking that's out there now. Everything seems to be working pretty good.
Question, it's not architectural related. Maybe I'm missing something. I'm confused if so the lot line revision was approved. But the calculations that we have, parking, landscaping, everything else, and stormwater are based on the use of these lots as a singular lot. So I'm confused about how that works. Like this lot is a freestanding lot, but the parking calculations I have are for treat it as if it's one lot.
Well, it's the beauty of the special exception permit, which is a special permit in many other towns. The special exception permit goes over the top of both lots. So they're married to each other forever because we have to have cross easements for parking, cross easements for maintenance, utilities, drainage. Everything is all interconnected with each other, irregardless of the lots, the lot shapes on the property. So it's the special exception that allows that.
requires the lots to continue to function as one. The cross easements would.
So I think what the applicant is doing is they have separate lots for septic. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, separate
Yeah.
septic purposes. But because it's a special exception and they're contiguous lots, the overlap with the easements and that will treat it one. I agree, I don't think it's a function of the special exception.
But so this lot in theory could be sold, is my point. And should be, and so unless you have some sort of legal, something like you're asking us from a zoning standpoint, we should be looking at, do you have enough parking on lot A and do you have enough parking on lot B? And do you have enough, like,
No, because the easements, so the easements will treat it as one
do
parcel.
we have a provision in our zoning regulations that allow us to do things like that?
We
Like
do it.
use something that's on a different lot. in
So that
order to
applicant
claim.
is providing cross easements, and it could be for parking, drainage, so they could put 10 lots. And have cross easements and things like that, you could sell the lot. So
Where does it tell me that all of the cross easements that are going to make this function? Like, because I don't.
You should
I
make
have
it, you should make it a condition of your special exception that,
Even little things like there's normally a perimeter requirement of landscaping around a lot. So obviously that's not being applied here, which logistically, because it's functioning as essentially as one lot, I understand. But from a zoning standpoint, I'm having a little bit of trouble with some of these unless we have some sort of provision that lets us make exceptions for those sorts of things in this situation.
I don't think they're looking for an exception, I think they're working on providing now or at the time of the issuance of zoning compliance after this approval, they'll provide the easements and legal documents for review.
yeah, I mean, I can assure you folks that I have worked on, oh, I don't know how many, 100 big shopping centers, and literally every major shopping center certainly in the state of Connecticut, has very similar situations to this. It's not uncommon for major tenants to actually buy the land under the building, and
Yes, and that's a lease line,
no, they actually physically buy the land. So, and then, like for instance, we're working right now up at West Farms Mall, where Big Y is going to build a new store there. I don't know if you've seen it in the newspaper or not, but West Farms Mall, for instance, has about 12 different lots, all owned by different people, but they're forever wedded to each other. You can't take it apart. It's
I
one.
understand how cross easements work. What I'm saying is, I have a concern that typically, if we have, like, we might have a provision that says we can make some sort of exception to some of these requirements if there are cross easements and if it's going to function in certain as a single lot and blah, blah, blah. But I'm trying to understand whether that exists, because this lot on its own doesn't comply. I understand the concept, but I'm trying to make sure that actually works within the confines of our regulations.
You're doing this for business considerations, right?
Well, I think
it's gonna operate.
So I think what she's asking for is, will you either provide the cross easements and that
So it's gonna be.
now or
We
agree to
have
it?
a provision in our regs
that says if they provide the proper cross easements, we can make exceptions to our zoning regulations. Or if something is provided off-site, then we can allow that. Like that this site can claim some of the parking from this site, or that this site can claim some of the parking from this site in their calculations.
We do it all the time. I can find you in a section, but we've done it.
Shared parking?
Right, but
It's
it's
not,
not just parking.
so it's pretty much, it's treated as a complex versus having, like in the West Farms Mall case, you wouldn't want 12 little lots with 12 landscaping buffers and
Right.
12 curb cuts. So this allows us to go through and have 2 entryways or 3 on the same, and then through cross easements and that. So if someone wants to go through and sell one, they're still married together, as Dave was putting.
Right.
So we,
Conceptually, I understand it and I don't have a problem with it.
you're just looking for the documents.
I'm
think it's-
looking, yeah, I'm looking for like the actual thing that tells me that we can say this is okay.
Well,
If we have crossing.
you're actually looking for the easements in advance, I mean, that's all would be part of our.
No, I'm not looking for the actual cross easements, because I'm not a lawyer and I don't
We
need
can
to see
find,
what they
we can
look like.
find the section of the regulations, but I'll give you an example.
Let's-
Max's Place on Center Road has one whole lot on the corner of Center Road and Center Road West
Right.
that is associated with Max's Place. And there's easements and they're legally bound together. That is just for drainage and it's a created well. So I can't,
But neither of those lots create like non-conform, like,
well, you can't just sell the other lot because then you sell the drainage. They're
Right.
legally bound, like an easement.
right, but we have things on here that actually physically don't comply with our zoning regulations.
It does comply, the easements kind of marry the lots, and for a better, that should have stayed. It marries the lots, we're allowed to do it, so you don't have a situation with 10 curb cuts. And I can find you a specific section of the
Would you
regulation.
feel okay if I knew we had a section?
We do
in our
have a
zoning
section
regs that
in the
says
reg,
we can
yes.
do that, okay, as long as you're, I don't even need you to tell me what the section is, just as long as I know that there is one. And that. We'll end up with all of the proper easements in place. Only because of the reason that someday somebody could sell one of the lots and. Right, we don't want a situation where there's, somebody's trying that, but yeah, as long as we know the cross easements will be in place and that we can do it, I'm fine with it.
Use mine, so you. Yeah.
I know, I just have to figure out where the section.
You don't have to tell me, I believe you.
Chris,
Oh,
we'll work, Chris, we'll work together and find it. Because I know it's there too, so.
Okay, so we started this, how long ago did we start Max's Place?
But, yeah, it's about 15 years ago at least.
Ron and Dave and I, that's right.
No, that's, this job number is, this is an 04 job number for me.
2004.
We were originally gonna do it without polls, it was gonna be with Boyle's books, if you can imagine that, thank God we didn't do that one.
Really,
told-
we got to get them.
I told Ron, I said to Ron, I can't retire until I wrap up these 04 projects. So.
You guys have any questions?
I actually, just as a comment, I actually thought it was great to put all this parking together through the
Yeah.
calculation.
Yeah.
'Cause you can't do anything else. You could never just, in
Yeah.
fact, I worry about whatever tenants go in there, if it's actually what you got in your pictures, creating more traffic,
I agree.
but it'll still work. I think it'll still work. Yeah. So no, I don't have any more questions. That's it.
So we're still waiting on,
So I think, Dave Zion and I spoke today. Jeff Jacobson, I know they were gonna coordinate on the review potentially this week. Still we're waiting on, at this point, the building official, fire marshal. Police, we do have our town engineer, our town attorney for legal documents at some point, whether it's now or in the future, and, our engineer. So. The question is, if the commission were to continue the public hearing, would it make sense to continue it to the 18th? So Dave can get Jeff's comments and come back, and now it's up to you.
Well, if I may respond, I wanna do whatever's the most appropriate thing, but I will tell you that we're hoping we can, God willing, get a prepared pad ready. By July 1st to go vertical because of Mother Nature, those are the main things we're concerned with.
Right.
We certainly wanna do it all properly, but anything we can do to compress the schedule would be very slow.
So I guess we're what I'm thinking, and Dave Ziyax, I don't know what your thoughts are. But by the time they get through the comments, Jeff gets through the comments, he's gonna submit a letter. Then we're gonna go to May 4th, which is probably unlikely that Dave Ziyax will be able to go through and respond to all that, but it makes sense just to put it on the 18th and come in hopefully with clear reviews, but that's.
Well, if it's possible, Dave, I'd love to see, if you get the comments back from Jeff, really, I'd love to see us on the agenda for the 4th. Do you think that's, well, do you have any idea when we expect the comments from Jeff, Chris?
I think Jeff and Dave are gonna talk this week. I don't know.
Yeah, and I'm going to be away for a week in the middle there too. So my gut feeling is for the sake of 2 weeks. I mean, because if we get tripped up, we're going to be back again anyhow. So
Okay.
I say let's go for the 18th. That night I'm available, and by that will give me plenty of time to button up this stuff with Chris and get all this nice and neat for you folks, and we'll be in good shape.
So it is a public hearing, so I'll ask if there's anyone in the audience that wants to say anything or thoughts, or not seeing any. Anyone online? No. Commission have any other questions or comments? And that said, we need a motion can I get a motion to continue the public hearing until the May 18th meeting of the zoning commission? So is there a second? Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, extensions, approved? Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks
Thank
very much,
you.
folks.
Okay, next up, any committee representative or staff report?
Oh, I think I gave you one last week, if you'd like another one, it's up to you, but we can say, since the meeting's still up and it's up to you, I don't know. You're good, okay.
All right, can I get
I think
a
you're up to date.
motion to adjourn?
Look, Richard.
Is there a second? Second, and all those in favor say aye.
Hi.
Adjourned at 8:30.
Thank you.